So, I'm making this video hours later than I wanted to. So, seeing how I covered the top 10 best movies of 2021, it would figure that I would try to do a top 10 worst. One slight drawback, though. I hadn't seen a lot of bad movies in 2021, thankfully. So, I didn't get a chance to riff on a lot of the bad ones, but I did see enough of bad movies to give you a list of things I didn't like this year. Either that, or the ones that I thought were just, okay. So, here's my list for the top 5 worst or weakest movies of 2021. Let's get started. No, actually, before we get started, I don't know why I said let's get started. I have a few things to say. If you're thinking that I'm going to be talking about Clifford the Big Red Dog or Tom and Jerry, not going to happen. I hadn't seen those movies, although I did hear they were pretty bad. Same thing with the Paw Patrol movie, even though I heard that was pretty decent. I don't think I'm going to cover it. So with that said, let's get started. Coming in at number 5, this is a movie that I didn't hate, but I had no idea where else to put it. It's Jungle Cruise. Jungle Cruise was announced back in 2018, and I was up for watching it due to the fact that it was, a movie based on the Jungle Cruise. You can get an action-packed jungle adventure with the tone of movies like King Kong or Jurassic Park. What we got instead was a PG-13 comedy with a few jokes that are not really great sprinkled in there, and a ridiculous story and plot twist. While some jokes actually did make me laugh, a lot of the humor relies on bathroom humor and gross-out humor, which isn't great for a PG-13 movie. I mean, I remember back when PG-13 movies told serious jokes, like the MCU movies do. But what I got instead were some pretty lackluster jokes. And the person I saw the movie with basically thought the same thing when I looked over. With those complaints aside, some jokes did make me laugh. The CGI wasn't terrible, it was actually pretty good. And the music by James Newton Howard made me raise the movie's score by an entire point, so go figure. In 4th place, we have an actual bad movie. It's Eternals. Eternals is a movie that everybody seemed to thrash on, so I don't want to be too harsh on it because I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it. Eternals was the first ever MCU movie to obtain a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of sad because all the MCU movies, even the ones that are not really great, like Thor the Dark World, all got fresh ratings, meaning the critics still got a kick out of them. Eternals, on the other hand, didn't have that. By 2 weeks before the movie was released, it was already getting thrashed. And when I saw the movie, I basically understood why. By 1 hour and 45 minutes in, halfway through the movie, they're still introducing characters. Which, if your movie's 2.5 hours long, and it's an ensemble movie, like the Avengers, you can't just continue introducing characters. For example, the Avengers introduced all of its characters by the 45-minute mark, and the Avengers is 2 hours and 22 minutes. So, essentially, we're not even halfway through the Avengers and we get all the characters introduced. And that's how you set it up. Eternals takes so long in setting up its characters. At this point, I would be asking to watch the Avengers again just to compare it. Performance-wise, Gemma Chan and Richard Madden did a great job in portraying the characters of Icarus and Cersei. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. But Icarus as a character was kind of lame, as they did this whole third act thing where he's revealed to be a villain, but at least he was an okay character. Some of the characters I completely forgot their names, such as Brian Tyree Henry's character, and the deaf one. I honestly forget her name as well. And all the other characters are just kind of forgettable in many regards. That being said, the character that stole the show for me was Kingo. I thought he was hilarious. His jokes actually made me laugh, and it made me have a much better time than I did for the first few minutes of the movie. On top of that, the CGI is great, and the music is memorable, but it's just the story and characters that really bring Eternals down. So overall, if you haven't seen Eternals, I guess if you're an MCU fan, just watch it. But if you're like me, just skip it. You don't really need to watch it. Number 3, Space Jam: A New Legacy. Initially, I had planned to make a video comparing both Space Jam movies, but I honestly canceled it because I really had nothing else to say that the critics and audiences hadn't said already. It's actually quite shocking how Space Jam 2 actually was that big of a failure. Like, I knew it would be bad, but I didn't expect it to be that bad. Terrible acting from LeBron James and all the live-action actors, as well as a story that's basically rehashed from 25 years ago, a villain that's cheesy but somewhat decent, and of course, the marketing for this movie. We've seen it before. Ready Player One, Ralph Breaks the Internet, when a company gets too full of themselves and decides to advertise their own properties in a movie. For this case, Warner Brothers advertised so much in this movie that it even led to the jokes sucking. I expressed a lot of my hate in the script for this Versus video, and if you guys want to actually see that, please do leave a comment down below because I might eventually make it at one point. With all that said, though, is there anything I liked in Space Jam: A New Legacy? Well, yeah, actually. I actually kind of enjoyed the references at some point. Like, when King Kong and Iron Giant fist bumped, I had a big smile on my face. I also really enjoyed the CGI and animation, and it was actually the only thing superior to the original movie in that regard, although you can't beat the 2D animation from Space Jam 1 from 1996. So Space Jam: A New Legacy is a foul, and LeBron James should stay on the basketball courts and maybe even win a few games. I'm sorry, I watched the Lakers game last week, and I'm so sad that they lost. Number 2, this is going to shock a lot of you guys. Ghostbusters Afterlife. Oh my god, where do I begin? Ghostbusters Afterlife was a highly anticipated movie after the disaster that was Ghostbusters 2016. Alright, controversial opinion. I don't hate Ghostbusters 2016. I think it's okay. Are the jokes sometimes bad? Yes. Are the characters a little annoying? Yes. Did I have a good time watching it? Yes. Does that apply to anything in Ghostbusters Afterlife? Only the first 2 I listed. Ghostbusters Afterlife contains so many bad jokes that just come at you a mile a minute, and I was so frustrated that every time they told a bad joke, I turned over to the person I was watching it with, and we both just shook our heads simultaneously. On top of that, the lead actress, McKenna Grace, who's been in a lot of great stuff, watch her in Young Sheldon, she's amazing, was painfully bad in this. Now, I don't blame her, I blame it on the script. But, God, just God. Other characters I downright didn't like was, of course, Finn Wolfhard as Trevor, because his side plot was pointless, like, extremely pointless. Podcast was an unnecessary character. I have no idea why they have him as a character when they're trying to be as original as the original 1984 movie. Gary Gruby, I'm just calling him Gary Gruby, I forget his whole last name, was okay because he was played by Paul Rudd. He was at least a saving grace, but he's not great. Plain and simple. The only upsides I see to Ghostbusters Afterlife are, the scenes with the original cast are great. The loving tribute to Raymond... No. The loving tribute to Harold Ramis was really well done. And the scene in the supermarket was actually funny. It made me laugh. I looked over to my friend and I'm like, this is the best scene of the movie? This is the best scene of the movie. But other than that, Ghostbusters Afterlife, just bad. I'm going to call the Ghostbusters to bust this one. Alright. I think you all know what number 1 is. Going by so many people's track records and their continuous agreeing opinions. But I'm gonna say it anyway. Because A, I want to keep my sanity, and B, I feel like I should do it. I'm entitled to my own opinion, and I'm gonna do it. And the number one absolute worst movie of 2021 is Home Sweet Home Alone. Let me ask you a question. When Disney bought Fox, which franchise did you expect they would reboot? The Diary of a Wimpy Kid franchise, the Planet of the Apes franchise, the Predator franchise, which might actually be pretty surprising, or the Home Alone franchise? If you guessed A and D, you'd be correct. But the Diary of a Wimpy Kid reboot, which came out in December of 2021, was okay. I thoroughly enjoyed most of it. But Home Sweet Home Alone, I don't know what to say. I have no idea what to say. Home Sweet Home Alone is a sequel / reboot that fails on every single account. Every last one. You just cannot say this is one of the worst movies that came out this year. Home Sweet Home Alone's biggest problem is the fact that it's so disrespectful to the original movie. How, you might be asking me? Well, I'm going to give you a few scenes that just destroy the original. During the Oh Holy Night scene, they have a fart joke and a pants off joke, just to have slapstick. Oh Holy Night is a beautiful song. It is one of the best scenes in the original Christmas classic, and you have the nerve to do not just a fart joke, but a pants off joke? Are you serious, Disney? Are you absolutely freaking serious right now? Also, the whole plot of Max fighting off the burglars is forgotten because they thought he stole their hella expensive doll, which, why would anyone want to buy that? It's so ugly. He didn't even steal the doll. What did he steal? Soda.
You serious?
I wish I was kidding. He stole soda. Soda. A can of soda. A can of soda. I'm losing myself. Anyways, the characters are awful. I mean, they really are. The character of Max is so unlikable, and I know this kid can act well. He's in freaking Jojo Rabbit. I know he can do a good performance. I even seen Jojo Rabbit, and I even know he's good. His name's Archie Yates, by the way, if you wanted to know. So much wasted comedic talent is in here. Ellie Kemper, Rob Delaney, Kenan Thompson, Andy Dolly, Chris Parnell, and Jim Rash are all in this movie. And I know they're great comedians. Jim Rash and Andy Dolly are funny as heck in anything else than this. Andy Dolly is funny as Principal Brown in Modern Family. His name is Prince, and Jim Rash is funny in anything else he's in as well, including Community, Harley Quinn, Blackish, anything. Chris Parnell is freaking Jerry Smith in Rick and Morty, even though I hate the character personally, he's wasted here. Chris Parnell is a great voice actor and great comedian. How dare they do what they did to him here? If I have one credit to this movie, and only one credit, the VR trap is clever. And I forgot about one of my other big problems with this movie, but the VR trap is clever. Mountains of product placement is in this movie. Gushers, McDonald's, BMW, like, we get it. You're basically turning into the new Space Jam as a new legacy. You're basically turning into the new Space Jam a new legacy. By and large, this is not only the worst movie of 2021, one of the worst movies of all time, but one of Disney's worst films in recent years. I thought it couldn't get worse than Artemis Fowl. Well, it's not actually worse than Artemis Fowl. Artemis Fowl is nothing redeemable. At least the VR trap in this movie was cool. But it's still a god-awful movie, and I don't recommend anybody watching it in any Christmas season. Watch Home Alone. Watch Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Even watch the god-awful Home Alone 3, 4, and 5. This movie can burn in hell because it's a filthy animal. Okay. This was my real last video of 2021, and I'm glad the year is over with. If you enjoyed this video, please give a like and a comment, and I'll see you guys all in 2022. Peace out.